Chapter 1. The 14th Rejected Love Letter. Classroom was as stuffy as a sealed room without air conditioning. The fan squeaked with every rotation, as if desperately trying to cover up the stagnant air and monotony in the room. I held a crumpled pink letter in my hand, staring at the crossed-out sentences that I had rewritten over and over again. The messy ink and overlapping scribbles made it look like even one word would destroy the whole world. Suyuk Swan. Hello, I like you, since... No, still too cheesy. Frustrated, I scratched my head and crumpled the paper into a typeball before tossing it into the drawer with a sigh. That was probably the 14th failed love letter I'd written on, had been sent, each one rejected by my own hand. How could a simple confession be so difficult? Was I just too timid? Or was he just too dazzling? I wasn't sure. But I did know one thing: I had been secretly in love with Sue. Isuan for a long time. He was like a character straight out of a novel. Aloof, quiet, always sitting by the window with sunlight casting an ethereal glow around him. Every girl in school had a crush on him. I was no exception. Knock knock. The sound of someone knocking on the door jolted me back to reality. I quickly pulled out my textbook and slapped it over the love letter drafts, pretending to flip through the pages. Others in the room did the same, everyone suddenly acting like model students. The timing unnaturally synchronized. I glanced toward the door. Sure enough, it was the homeroom teacher. He pushed up his glasses with a familiar, gentle smile on his face. Class, today we have a few new teachers joining us. They'll be helping out with your studies for a while. Please give them a warm welcome. The class clapped with a rhythm that felt oddly mechanical. I joined in half-heartedly, watching as 5 new teachers stepped into the room behind him. The first was a woman with voluminous wavy hair and an overwhelming perfume. Her high heels clicked with every step, like she was walking to a beat, dressed in a tight red dress that made her look more like an actress than an English teacher. "This is your new English teacher," the homeroom teacher announced with a smile. Next came a middle-aged man in a pristine suit, his expression blank. He wore gold-rimmed glasses and looked more like a banker than a literature teacher. Then came a large, heavily tattooed man with a wide grin. "Hey kids, I'm your new physics teacher." The class gave an awkward laugh. The fourth was a girl who looked our age, with messy hair and red, puffy eyes, as if she had just finished crying. She'd be your new chemistry teacher, the homeroom teacher said nonchalantly. And finally, a short, greasy-looking man shuffled in, his eyes darting around nervously, landing on the English and chemistry teachers a little too often. "This one is your biology teacher." He didn't give us their names, just the subjects, then quickly excused himself from the room. I glanced at the new teachers. They stood silently at the front of the classroom, scanning the room like hawks, their eyes sharp and invasive, as if hunting prey. Creepy. But not entirely unfamiliar. Our class had seen its fair share of weird new teachers before. They always showed up randomly and disappeared just as abruptly. No one ever asked questions. Everyone had gotten used to it. Myself included. Still, something felt off today. I lowered my head and stared at my notebook again, my thoughts returning to the love letter. What kind of girl would Soo Yik-Siwan like? Smart? Quiet? Outgoing? Or someone like me, average grades? Invisible to most? He sat in the 3rd row by the window, just like always, gazing outside like the view beyond the glass mattered more than any of us. I remembered the first day he transferred to our school. He barely spoke, always kept to himself, and never showed much emotion, yet no one disliked him. Some said he came from a rich family. Others believed he had connections to some elite academy. Whatever the truth, one thing was certain: you couldn't help but notice him. I peeked at him, just a glance. He sat upright, his eyes calm and unreadable, and then a flicker of light darted across my vision. Line of text appeared in the air like a subtitle from a television screen. Side quest triggered. NPC exhibits abnormal emotional fluctuation. Instant stability decreasing. I froze, eyes wide. Everything around me was still normal, yet undeniably wrong. What the hell was that? A glitch? My imagination? I rubbed my eyes hard and looked again, nothing. The classroom, the blackboard, the teachers. Unchanged. My heart pounded. Was I hallucinating? Hey, what are you spacing out for? Lynn Sicky poked me with her pen. Did you see those new teachers? Which one's the weirdest to you? They're all weird, I mumbled. They're telling me. That English teacher looks like someone from a horror movie. I swear, if she starts smiling out of nowhere, I'm running. I nodded absent-mindedly, still haunted by that strange text. Was I losing my mind, or was something truly wrong with this place? The bell rang for recess, but I hadn't moved an inch. Classmates poured out of the room in twos and threes, chatting casually, but the hallway was eerily silent. I stood up, hoping to get some fresh air. As soon as I stepped out of the classroom. Rule #01. Do not exit the designated learning area. Violators will be subject to cleansing procedures. The words flashed across my vision again, this time bolder, more direct. I froze in place. Cleansing? I slowly backed into the classroom. Then I saw it. A student walking toward the stairwell suddenly stiffened. His body collapsed like a puppet with its strings cut. Twitching. Then dash. His body began to disintegrate into particles of light, vanishing into nothing. My jaw dropped, lips trembling. No one screamed. No one even noticed. No one. Except Player alert NPC ID 0031 shows signs of awakening. Proceed to evaluate and eliminate. This time, the text scrolled across the blackboard. There was no mistaking it. I wasn't imagining things, but this classroom, this world was not real. I sat down shaking and looked toward the back of the room. Su Yixuan still sat there, flipping through his book. Then, as if sensing my gaze, he looked up. Our eyes met. He smiled. That gentle, knowing smile, like everything was going exactly as he planned. Chapter 2. The first time I saw the bullet screen, the smile he gave me wouldn't leave my mind. It wasn't just warm. It was deliberate, knowing, like he saw something inside me even I hadn't yet discovered. I looked away quickly, heart thudding in my chest. Was he just being polite? Or did he know? There's no way he knew what I saw. No one else had reacted. Not to the weird text that flashed before my eyes, not to the student who crumbled into particles right in the hallway. Not even a glance. As if none of it had happened. I looked around the classroom again. The desks were still arranged in perfect rows. The fluorescent lights still flickered like always. My classmates were laughing, chatting, copying homework as if that boy hadn't just. DISPPAREDA chill crept up my spine. I wasn't crazy. I couldn't be. I saw it. Player message, NPC anomaly confirmed. Monitoring initiated. There it was again. That strange line of text. No, not text. It was like a bullet screen, like those floating comments people leave on live streams or videos. But this wasn't a video. I was living in it. A knock on the door interrupted my spiraling thoughts. Again. I turned my head slowly. This time, a tall figure stood in the doorway, one I didn't recognize. He looked like a senior, maybe even a college student. Sharp features. Hair slicked back. Wearing a dark blazer that was definitely not part of our school uniform. His eyes scanned the room and then settled directly on me. "Excuse me," he said, his voice oddly smooth. "I'm looking for Lynn Nyan." My name? I froze. Why me? I heard the shuffle of papers, whispers from classmates, a few curious glances thrown my way. I stood up, my knees wobbling slightly. I'm Lynn Nyan, I said. He nodded once and stepped inside. The head office once. You, I frowned. Now? He confirmed. Bring your things. My backpack felt heavier than usual as I slung it over my shoulder. I took one last glance at Suik-Suan. He hadn't moved, but his eyes followed me, calm and focused. The hallway outside was completely silent. Not a single student in sight, not even a teacher. Where are we going? I asked. The boy who still hadn't introduced himself didn't answer immediately. Finally, he said, "You've seen it, haven't you?" I stopped walking. "What are you talking about?" He turned to me, expression unreadable. "The text, the bullet screens, you've seen them." I stared at him. There was no point pretending. "Yes." He didn't look surprised. "That means you're waking up," he said simply. "Your code is breaking." "My code? What do you mean, code?" "I'm a person," he tilted his head. "You think so?" Something about the way he said it made my stomach twist. I go to school. I write essays. I have parents, friends, none of which exist outside this instance. He sighed. "You're an NPC, Lin Nyan, a non-player character. Just like everyone else in your class." I wanted to scream at him. Tell him he was wrong, that I had memories, emotions, dreams, that I liked Su Yixuan, that I wrote love letters, that I had a life. But then I remembered the boy in the hallway. How he turned into dust. How no one reacted. My mouth went dry. So what happens now? I asked quietly. He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out something from his blazer. A black tablet with a glowing screen. Your behavior triggered multiple flags. You're either a corrupted NPC or a special asset. He tapped the screen a few times. Option 1, format. Option 2, isolate for observation. "I'm going to choose option 2, he muttered. "Don't disappoint me. What if you had chosen the other one?" I asked. He gave me a cold smile. Then you'd already be gone. He led me into a dark room that looked like an old storage closet converted into a server room. Wires ran across the floor. Humming machines lined the walls. He closed the door behind us and the light flickered on. "You're not just any NPC," he said, setting the tablet down. "You're the anchor of this entire instance. The fact that you're aware could crash the whole system." "What system?" I asked, my voice cracking. "This school, your town, your memories, everything around you." He leaned in. "It's all part of a simulation, a story, a game." I took a shaky breath. "Then, who's Su Yixuan?" He paused. That hesitation told me everything. "He's not an NPC, is he?" "No." "Then what is he?" The boy looked at me seriously. "He's the S-class player assigned to this instance. His job is to complete the scenario. Or reset. And if it breaks." I felt like the floor dropped out beneath me. I thought I had a crush on the campus heartthrob Dot, but in reality, I had fallen in love with the final boss of this world. Bullet screen. This NPC is waking up too fast. Bullet screen. I vote we keep her. She's interesting. Bullet screen. Wait, are we shipping her with Su Yixuan now? LOL. The bullet screens came again, dozens, maybe hundreds, all reacting to me. Wasn't imagining it anymore. The audience was watching. Judging. Laughing. "Want to get out of here?" I said. "You can't," the boy said. "Not yet, not unless the player decides to take you with him. And if he doesn't, then you'll be wiped in the next reset." I clenched my fists. Not again. This time I'd confess for real, even if it meant disrupting the game, even if it meant breaking the rules. Chapter 3. None of them are Humani didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling of my room, if I could still call it that. The posters on the wall, the bookshelf filled with worn-out exam prep guides, even the pink rabbit plush sitting at the edge of my desk. All of it might be fake. A simulation, fabricated assets, props for an illusion. I didn't realize I was part of until yesterday. "You're just an NPC." Those words wouldn't stop echoing in my head. I got up and opened the window. The breeze felt real. The sound of the night, cicadas chirping, distant dog barks, even the glowing moon hanging above the trees, all of it felt real. So why did my chest hurt as if someone had ripped out a piece of my world and replaced it with code? I turned toward my desk and opened the drawer. 14 crumpled love letters lay buried underneath pens, markers, and a bottle of correction fluid. I flattened one out and read the first line again. Suyik-suan, I've liked you for a long time. The words blurred as tears welled up, not because I felt pathetic, not because I was rejected, but because I didn't even know if he was real either. Morning came too soon. The school looked the same. Too much the same. Every student wore the same smile, carried the same bag, walked the same steps down the hall. Like clockwork. Too perfect. 2. Synchronized. I passed by room 3-2. Inside. A teacher repeated the same phrase twice in a row. Identical pitch, identical breath. No one reacted. I reached my own classroom, feeling like I was walking into a trap. But I had to be sure, I had to know. As I stepped in, the chatter ceased. For a split second, I swore everyone turned to look at me. Then, just as quickly, they returned to their own conversations, pencils scratching, chairs creaking, wrappers CR inkling. As if nothing happened. But Suyik-suan was already in his seat by the window, as usual. Book in hand. Eyes down. I walked past his desk slowly. He looked up. Our eyes met. I stopped. There was no smirk today. No subtle knowing smile. Just a steady, unreadable gaze. Morning, he said quietly. I blinked. Morning. That was it he went back to. His book. My heart dropped a little, then immediately scolded itself. Why did I expect something more? A secret shared? An invitation to run away from this false world? But he was a player, a real one. He didn't owe me anything. I sat at my desk and opened my notebook. Pretended to write, but my eyes kept drifting back to him. I had so many questions, but none I could ask in front of 30 other NPCs. Bullet screen. She's glitching again. Hello. Bullet screen. Is Suyik-suan going to trigger the romance route or not? Bullet screen. Can we get her out of the loop already? It's painful to watch. There they were again. The floating comments only. I could see reacting to my life as if I were a character in a drama, which apparently I was. I clenched my jaw and looked around. Siki, I whispered to the girl next. To me. She looked up from her notes. Did anything weird happen to you yesterday? She blinked. What do you mean? Like, teachers acting strange, students disappearing, rules in the hallway. She tilted her head. You okay? You sound kind of off today. I'm fine, just humor me, okay? She paused, then smiled. It was too wide. Too symmetrical. Everything's been totally normal, she said, too perfectly. Then she turned back to her notes. A shiver ran through me. She wasn't real, not anymore. Or maybe she never was. The lesson that day dragged on. The new teachers took turns assisting groups. The chemistry teacher, the girl with red eyes, hovered near my desk for a while, but didn't say anything. She just watched. Her hands trembled slightly. I noticed faint bruises on her wrists. NPC or not, she seemed scared. And then the biology teacher came in. His oily smile crawled over his face like a bug. He walked too slowly. His eyes scanned too deliberately. When he passed the English teacher, his gaze lingered too long on her chest. Something dark flashed in his eyes. Bullet screen. Ooh, can we delete this one already? Bullet screen. Dude's a walking red flag. Bullet screen. $10 says he's the first boss. The thought made my stomach turn. I looked at Suyik-suan again. He was watching the biology teacher too. Face cold, unreadable. Then, as if sensing my gaze, he glanced at me. And he nodded. Once. Barely noticeable, but I saw it. He knew I knew. I swallowed hard. When the final bell rang, I gathered my things slowly, pretending to pack. One by one, students left the room. Only a few remained. And then Suyik-suan stood up. Come. With me, he said. I hesitated. Where? Somewhere we can talk. His tone was calm, but firm. My heart pounded. Was this it? Was he going to erase me or help me? Either way, I had to know the truth. I followed him. Out of the classroom, down the quiet hall, into the empty library on the third floor, he closed the door. Behind us, you've seen the bullet screens, he said. No pretense this time. Yes. You're aware of the instance. I nodded. He leaned against the bookshelf, arms crossed. This isn't supposed to happen. NPCs aren't supposed to wake up. Then why didn't you report me? I asked. He looked at me for a long time before answering. Because I'm not sure if I want you to disappear. My breath caught. What? This instance is broken, he said. The world loops. The roles reset. But you. He stepped closer. You keep writing those letters. Even when they get erased, how do you know about those? He smiled faintly. I've read every single one. The room spun. You. Remember? I do. He took a breath. But they wipe me after every run. I have to pretend I don't know you. Pretend I'm just the transfer student. That's cruel. Not as cruel as letting you remember alone, he said softly. I stared at him. For a moment, the weight of this fake world didn't matter. Just his eyes. His words. Then help me, I said. Let's get out. His face darkened. It's not that simple. If they find out we bonded, the system might collapse. I don't care. I do, he said. Because if it collapses, we both go down with it. Bullet screen. Wait. Is this the forbidden romance? Arc. Bullet screen. I'm eating this up. Let them escape. Bullet screen. Protect Suan at all costs. I reached out and grabbed his hand. If we're going to be deleted anyway, then let's do something that matters. He didn't pull away. For the first time, I saw real fear and hope in his eyes. Okay, he whispered. Let's break the game. Chapter 4. Night rule. Do not move that night. Something changed, not just in the air, but in the very texture of the world. The sky was darker than usual. The moon, once a soft silver disk, now glared down like a surveillance camera. The streetlights blinked unnaturally, like they were trying to keep time but kept losing the beat. I knew something was coming. Don't move after the announcement. Suan had said earlier that day. No matter what you see or hear. At the time, I didn't understand what. He meant but when midnight hit, I did. I was sitting at my desk, half pretending to study, half staring at my blank phone screen. The screen had no signal. No apps, just a digital clock. 11:59 p.m. The moment it turned 12 o'clock, a soft chime echoed through the air, one I never heard before. The classroom speakers crackled to life. Attention all students, a slow, distorted voice announced. Night rules are now in effect. Please remain seated and do not leave your desks until morning bell. Movement will result in immediate penalty. My body froze instinctively. I wasn't even in school, but the announcement reverberated in my bones. System notice. Night protocol activated. Rule number 07, do not move after midnight. There it was again. The floating text. I tried to calm my breath, but every shadow in the room suddenly felt wrong. Too long, too sharp, too alive. Outside my window, the streets were eerily silent. Then I heard it. A dragging sound. Slow. Rhythmic. Getting closer. I turned off my desk lamp and dropped to the floor, hiding under my bed. I wasn't about to test the penalty. The sound drew nearer. Something heavy scraping across the floorboards, but it wasn't outside anymore. It was inside my house. No creaking doors. No broken windows. Just the sound of something entering without permission. Bullet. Screen. Oh, H. She triggered the night rule event. Bullet screen. Hide, girl, hide. Bullet screen. If she moves, she's done. Tears welled up in my eyes. Even now. They were watching. Laughing. Betting. I covered my mouth, forcing my breathing to slow. The scraping sound paused right outside my bedroom. I closed my eyes. Please, go away. Then my door creaked open. My heart stopped. Something stepped in. I didn't dare look, but I could feel it. A presence. It moved around slowly, like it was sniffing the air. Searching. I bit my lips so hard I tasted blood. And then, finally, it left. The door creaked shut. The scraping faded away, each drag of its limb or whatever it was growing more distant. When silence returned, I stayed under the bed. Still. Unmoving. Even breathing felt dangerous. Eventually, my digital clock flickered to 6 a.m. The announcement returned. Night protocol ended. Daytime cycle resumed. Please proceed with your scheduled tasks. My body relaxed all at once. I crawled out from under the bed and collapsed onto the floor, panting like I'd just run a marathon. That thing, it would have killed me. At school, no one talked about the night rule. In fact, everyone acted like it hadn't even happened. Siki greeted me like always, complaining about math homework. The other students joked around. Even the teachers returned to their regular robotic lessons. Was I the only one who remembered? I turned to Yixuan. He looked at me, really looked this time. You made it. His voice was low, for me alone. I nodded shakily. What was that? One of the night protocol enforcers, he replied. They clean up anomalies. Was I the anomaly? You're always the anomaly now. He glanced at the classroom door. We need to move fast. The system's watching you more closely than ever. And you? He hesitated. They don't fully trust me either. The moment they suspect I've gone rogue, they'll send a debugger. What happens then? He didn't answer, but he didn't need to. That afternoon during break, the sky turned dark again. Too soon. The announcement rang out once more, but this time, during the day, emergency rule enforcement. All students return to your seats immediately. Do not stand, do not speak. The entire class went rigid. Even Siki's smile froze on her face, like someone had paused her mid-frame. The new biology teacher stepped in, his expression twisted. He looked excited. We have a disruption in the system, he said, hands clasped like he was hosting a show. One of you doesn't belong. His eyes scanned the room. They landed on me. I didn't breathe. Yixuan stood up. I request player privilege. Protection of instance-bound NPC under investigation. The teacher narrowed his eyes. You're interfering with a purge. She's under my scenario arc. That arc is corrupted. A cold chill settled over the room. Yixuan moved in front of me, shielding me with his body. I don't care. The teacher's smile vanished. Bullet screen. Wait, is this a boss fight? Bullet screen. Yixuan just defied the system. Bullet screen. This instance is about to collapse. I grabbed the edge of his sleeve. Yixuan. He turned his head slightly. Run, he whispered. But now. The lights shattered. Above us. The teacher's body twisted unnaturally, like something inside him had snapped. A warning screeched in the air. System alert. Code read. Instance. Instability 72%. Trigger detected. Forbidden NPC player emotional link. We ran through the hallways. Past the frozen students, into the maintenance stairwell that didn't exist on the map. I didn't look back, because for once, I didn't care if the system was watching. All I wanted was to escape with him. Chapter 5. Substitute or the real one? The stairwell we escaped into was dim, damp, and far too cold for a school building. Each step echoed with an eerie hollowness, as if we weren't running through concrete and steel, but something more. Artificial. Like the space itself didn't want us here. Yixuan held my hand tightly as we descended, his grip steady despite the alarms ringing in my ears, and the red text flooding my vision. System alert. Unauthorized movement detected. Purge. Sequence recalibrating. Debugger en route. I didn't understand what most of that meant, but I didn't need to. I understood one thing. We were being hunted, and I wasn't supposed to exist. I don't get it. I panted as we reached the bottom of a stairwell, stopping at a heavy rusted door. If I'm just an NPC, why do I feel so real? Why do I remember things that no one else does? Yixuan didn't answer right away. He rested a hand on the wall beside the door and muttered a series of strange numbers. A keypad materialized from thin air. Because you're not just an NPC. He finally said .click. The door opened. What does that mean? He stepped inside, motioning for me to follow. The room was nothing like the school . It was a sleek white chamber lined with panels, floating screens, and an interface that blinked with data in real time. I froze. This wasn't part of any school I'd ever known. This isn't real, is it? I whispered. No, he said. This is the core room of the instance. I was inside a simulation. A structured world built with rules, roles, and scripts, and this was its heart. But you said, I'm not just an NPC? He glanced at one of the screens. My name appeared there, .lin, Nian, NPC _ID, 031 status. Instability detected origin, unknown override class, undefined. Entity, potential player fragment, you were supposed to be a background character. He explained, scrolling down the data logs, a filler. Someone with no narrative weight. Just a pretty girl with a crush to decorate the school arc? I swallowed the lump in my throat. But something happened, he continued. Somewhere in the last few loops, your data started to rewrite itself. Why? Because you felt, he said quietly. Really felt, and that changed everything. I stared at the floating screen. Was I evolving? Your emotional triggers started activating unused dialogue trees, triggering glitch events. The bullet screen comments? They're part of an observation protocol. You're the first NPC to generate consistent viewer engagement metrics. So, I'm content? I said, almost laughing. A good show? To them, yes. But to me, he looked at me seriously. There's something else. Before I could respond, the lights flickered. A sharp tone screeched through the room. Debugger has entered the instance. Time remaining until collapse. 8:14. A tall silhouette appeared on one of the holographic monitors. I didn't recognize the figure, but it moved with terrifying purpose, step by step, getting closer to our location. I thought I had more time, Suyuk-Swan muttered. What do we do now? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned to one of the control panels and typed rapidly. I'm going to initiate a shell swap, he said. A what? It's a trick. I'll clone your code into one of the empty substitute roles and reroute your ID signature. You'll look like someone else. Act like someone else. To the system, you'll be invisible. That sounds insane. It's risky. You'll forget who you are for a while. The override template will suppress your original personality. Wait, I'll lose my memories? Just temporarily, he said, meeting my gaze. I'll anchor a failsafe to bring you back. But it's the only way to keep you alive. A knot formed in my stomach. What happens to me, the real me? I'll hide you, he said. Inside the shell, I'll stay close. Guide you from within the simulation. But once I do this, he turned toward the console again. You won't remember me until the system weakens. I grabbed his hand. I don't want to forget you. His eyes softened. I know. The machine began to hum. Then let me choose, I whispered. He blinked. What? Don't put me in a background role again. Give me something closer to you, somewhere I can find you again. He hesitated, then nodded. Okay. He selected one of the shells. A new transfer student. Lin. Wei, shell role. Transfer from class 5 assigned seat. Next to Suyuk-Shun personality template. Curious. Defiant, emotional instability, moderate memories. Suppressed. I'll be right. Next to you, he said. Voice quiet now. When you wake up, you won't know me, but I'll be there. And if I fall for you again? His smile was sad. Then maybe we were real after all. The world faded into white dot. My name was gone. My memories scattered. And I became someone else. When I opened my eyes, I was standing at the classroom door. The teacher smiled. Everyone, this is our new classmate, Lin Wei. I looked around, confused, until my gaze landed on the boy sitting by the window. He turned. Our eyes met. My heart skipped. Just once. A faint echo of something lost. He smiled. Hey, I saved you a seat. Chapter 6. The truth hurts. The first few days as Linway felt like walking through fog. Everything looked familiar. But I couldn't explain why. I knew my name. I knew the classroom. I knew how to smile and laugh at the right times. But something inside me felt unfinished. Like there was a word I couldn't remember, a tune I couldn't hum, a name I wasn't allowed to say. Still, I followed the script. I sat in my assigned seat right next to Soo Yik-suan, the new transfer student. A fresh start. He greeted me every morning with the same warm tone. Morning, Linway. I'd smile. Morning. He'd hand me extra practice sheets, help me with chemistry formulas, offer me the last piece of candy from his pocket. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. He made it easy to like him. Too easy. And sometimes, when our fingers brushed or our eyes locked for too long, my chest would ache with something nameless, something like déjà vu or heartbreak. One afternoon, I stayed late to organize the bulletin board. Most of the class had gone home. Only a few students lingered, cleaning or waiting for after-school activities. Soo Yik-suan was one of them. He was still at his desk, flipping through a book, but he wasn't reading. I could tell. You don't have to stay, I told him. He looked up. I don't mind. Thought you could use some company. I turned back to the board, pretending not to smile. Thanks. A long silence passed. Then he spoke again, quieter. This time, do you believe in second chances? I blinked. Like, in life? In anything? I paused, I guess. Yeah, maybe if something's meant to happen, it'll happen again, right? He looked at me with an unreadable expression. I think so too. His voice was gentle, but there was weight behind his words, like they came from somewhere deeper, somewhere with scars. I opened my mouth to ask something. But system notice, instant stability fluctuating. Unauthorized memory leak. Detected. Subject. Linway. I froze. The bulletin board in front of me blurred for a second. Then, like a cracked mirror, an image flickered behind my vision. Pink envelope. Crumpled. UNSENT. Double quotes. Soo Yik-suan. I've liked you for a long time. I staggered backward. Pain spiked behind my eyes, sudden and sharp. Linway? Soo Yik-suan stood up, alarmed. I'm fine. I lied. Just dizzy. But I wasn't fine. My mind was fracturing. Pieces of a girl. I didn't remember clawed their way back classrooms, letters, a confession that was never made. Nights spent hiding from something that scraped across the floor. And Soo Yik-suan always. Soo I exun. Smiling. Protecting. Saying goodbye. When you wake up, you won't know me. No. I clutched the edge of the desk, breathing hard. Something was wrong. I need air, I mumbled, pushing past him and out of the classroom. I ran down the hall, not knowing where I was going. Every step brought back flashes, bullet screens. Stairwell, a whisper, run. I stumbled into the old storage building behind the gym. The door creaked open. Inside, dust and silence, but also a flicker, a single. Screen floated in the darkness, not connected to anything. Just there, waiting, I stepped. Closer. The screen lit up without being touched. A video played. I saw myself or the girl I used to be. Lynn and Ian. Sitting at her desk, crumpling a pink letter, looking out the window at Soo Yik-suan with quiet longing. I watched it all. Every loop, every heartbreak, every reset. My knees gave out. I fell to the floor, hands trembling. I was never real. That was the truth, wasn't it? I wasn't Linway. I wasn't Lin Nyan. I was just a character, patched together by faulty code and emotional glitches. A bug in a love story. Ghost in the machine. Footsteps echoed behind me. I didn't turn. You saw it. Soo Yik-suan said quietly. My voice cracked. Why didn't you tell me? I couldn't. The system would have wiped you again. You knew. You knew, and you let me smile at you like nothing was wrong. I wanted you to live. I looked up at him. Tears spilled down my cheeks. But I'm not living. I'm surviving someone else's script. He knelt beside me. No, you're writing your own. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, a folded piece of paper. I took it with shaking hands. It was one of my old letters. Su Yixuan. I don't care if you're a player or a god or a glitch. I just want to know if any of this, if you are real. I looked at him. He met my eyes. And finally he answered, I am. Chapter 7. His return, her realization. I sat on the cold floor of the storage room, clutching the faded letter in both hands. The words blurred behind my tears, but I didn't need to read them. I remembered writing it. Every single word, every hesitation, every beat of my heart as I scrawled the name Su Yuxuan at the top of that page, like it mattered more than anything else in the world. Because back then, it did. And now, everything hurt. I shouldn't exist, I whispered, voice hoarse. I'm not even real. You're more real than anything else in this place, Su Yixuan said. I looked at him bitterly. Spare me the poetic lines. I'm a data anomaly. A bunch of emotional flags stitched together by accident. He didn't flinch, maybe, but those emotions saved you. They made you you. He took a step closer. When this instance first began, I thought it would be just another mission. Loop through, complete objectives, reset, move on. I stared at him, heart pounding, but then you started writing those letters, he continued. Even though you forgot me every time, you still wrote them. Each loop without fail. He smiled faintly. You broke every rule of this system just by feeling something it couldn't predict. I shook my head. That doesn't make me real. It makes you alive. A long silence stretched between us, heavy and electric. Finally asked the question I had buried deep inside me since the first moment I saw the bullet screens. Why me? He crouched in front of me, eyes soft. I don't know. Maybe you were just a glitch. Maybe the system stitched you together from leftover data fragments and forgotten side plots. He reached out and gently touched the letter in my hand. But whatever you were supposed to be, you became something more. My chest ached. I hate this, I said quietly. I hate knowing none of it was real. He smiled again, this time more gently. Then make it real. That night, the school felt different. Too quiet. Too still. Like something was waiting. The bullet screens returned. Not as scattered jokes or playful commentary, but full sentences. Dozens, hundreds. NPC 0031 has broken containment. Emotion chain stable beyond 12 loops. System override triggered by unauthorized bond. Delete instance. YN. Player Su Yixuan final action required. I stood in the hallway, heart in my throat. What does that mean? I asked. Su Yixuan didn't answer right away. It means they want to end it. My blood ran cold. The whole world. He nodded. This instance was never designed to run this long. You were never meant to evolve. I wasn't meant to care. His voice dropped to a whisper. They'll shut it down. All of it. And wipe everything. My legs felt weak. All those memories. Gone. And me. He looked at me. They'll erase you. I stepped back. Breath shallow. No. You still have a choice, he said quickly. I stared at him, trembling. A choice? I can submit the instance for override, he said. Mark you as a candidate entity, convert you into a playable construct. I blinked. You can do that? I can try. But I need you to say it. Say what? That you want to stay. That you want to live. The walls around us began to hum. Light flickering. Time was running out. System countdown, 3 o'clock. Override request pending. Voice authentication required. I hesitated. My mind raced. I didn't know what would happen after. I didn't know if I'd still remember him. I didn't know if this was just another scripted ending in disguise. But I knew one thing: I wanted to live. Not as Linway Dot, not even as Lin Nyan, but as me. I want to stay. I said, voice breaking. I want to live. Voice input received. Validating. Override initialized. Anchoring core consciousness. The air VIB RTD spark shot across the ceiling. The walls trembled. Su Yixuan reached for me. I grabbed his hand. And then everything turned white. I opened. My eyes to silence. No buzzing. No. Flickering lights. No bullet screens. Just dash sunlight. A real breeze. The sound of pages turning nearby. I sat up slowly. I was in a different classroom. Clean, bright, alive, and sitting at the desk by the window. Wisdom. Su Y IX UAN. Reading. Like always. I swallowed, unsure. Did he remember? I walked toward him. Su Yixuan? He looked up. Smiled. Double quotes you. Came back, he said. Tears slipped down my cheeks. I remembered. He stood and pulled me into a hug. You were never just a glitch, he whispered into my hair. And you were never just a player, I replied. We were something else now. Something. Real. Together. Chapter 8. No longer a shadow. It had been 3 days since the override. 3 days since. I awoke in a classroom that no longer glitched at the corners, where the lights didn't flicker like broken signals, and where my reflection in the window didn't delay by half a second like a bad rendering. For the first time in however many loops I'd lived through, I was no longer just a shadow in someone else's story. I was real. At least. As real as this world could let me be. And the best part? He remembered. Su Yixuan didn't reset this time. He didn't pretend. To meet me for the first time, he didn't look through me like I was just another pretty placeholder in a fake high school. He knew me. He remembered everything. So did I. And yet, the world around us had changed. No more bullet screens. No system. Alerts. No watchers. The simulation had stabilized. Or so we thought. Do you ever think it's too quiet? I asked him one morning as we sat by the garden steps. Su Yixuan looked up from his book. Too quiet how? I mean, no glitches, no rules triggering, no weird new teachers appearing in the middle of class. It's almost eerie. He closed the book and leaned back on his hands, tilting his face up toward the sunlight. I think we earned a little peace. Peace doesn't last in a world like this, I murmured. His eyes flicked toward me. You don't trust it? I don't trust the silence, I admitted. He gave a small smile. Then we prepare, just in case. That was Su Yixuan, calm, constant. Even when the world had collapsed around us, he never wavered. But now that the system had stopped watching us, I couldn't help but wonder, what if this wasn't the ending? What if we were just in an interlude before the next cycle? That evening, I wandered through the old wing of the school, the abandoned floors where students never went. Even in the normal versions of the loop, these rooms had always been off limits. The door to the art room had no knob. The music room had keys that didn't press. The storage closet hummed faintly, like it was still connected to something beneath the code, but now everything was open. I stepped into the music room. Dust clung to the windows, but the piano in the center looked untouched. I sat down, ran my fingers along the keys. To my surprise, they responded. I played a few notes, soft, hesitant. Then clunked. My hands stopped. One key stuck. I pressed it again. No sound. Then, from somewhere behind the piano, I heard a mechanical WHIRR. Followed by system notice. Unindexed data fragment located. Query, reintegrate or quarantine? My blood ran cold. No, I whispered. You're supposed to be gone. But the air thickened, the world darkened, and then a screen appeared in the middle of the room, flickering. Blue lines of data scrolled too fast to read. And in the corner, a symbol I hadn't seen in days. System observer mode, limited. Restoration and progressive voice echoed through the room. Not robotic dot, not synthetic dot, human dot, female dot, double quotes. Hello, Lin Nyan. I froze. No one had called me that in this timeline, not even Su Xuan. Who are you? I asked, standing up slowly. I'm the one who built you. I swallowed hard. The system? No, the voice replied. The person behind it. The screen flickered again. A hazy silhouette appeared, a woman in her 20s, hair tied up, eyes sharp and exhausted. I am the original designer of this instance. You were supposed to be a throwaway character. A single scene NPC, one that gets deleted in the first. Loop. I clenched my fists. Then why am I still here? Because you learned to want something, the voice said. And I didn't code that. What do you want now? I asked. To offer you a deal, I narrowed my eyes. A deal? You've stabilized, she said. You've crossed the threshold. If you want, we can migrate you. Migrate? To a real server, a real world, a simulation with a real economy, history, memory. No more loops, no more resets, no more watchers. I stared at the flickering image. What's the catch? You can't bring him with you. My breath hitched. I knew it, I whispered. There's always a cost. You'll become a fully hosted AI, she said. Independent. Free. But Su Yuxuan, he's still bound to this instance. His data isn't compatible. I turned away from the screen. My eyes stung. He had saved me. Stayed with me. Protected me. He had remembered me. I'm not leaving him, I said firmly. You'd rather stay here? Risk being deleted in the next system purge? I'd rather be erased. With him than exist alone. The silence that followed was heavy. Static crackled across the screen. Finally, the voice spoke again. Noted. The screen went black. I stood in the silence of the music room, heart racing. Then the door creaked open. Lin Nyan? His voice. I turned. He walked in, eyes scanning. The room then landing on me. What happened? I didn't answer. Instead, I crossed the room and wrapped my arms around him. Promise me. I whispered into his shoulder. Promise me you won't let them take you away. He hugged me back. I'd break the system again before I let that happen. And in that moment, I knew I was no longer a shadow. I was someone who had chosen her world, even if it meant defying the one that made her. Chapter 9. A name I don't answer till I woke up the next morning with a strange feeling in my chest. Not fear. Not confusion. It was pressure. Like my name itself was too heavy to carry. Linwei. That was the name they gave me in this version. But it wasn't mine. It never had been. I was Lin Nyan. I'd always been Lin Nyan. The system could rename me. Rewrite me. Reroute me, but it could never erase what I had already chosen to remember. And now I knew something else too. They were still watching, not the viewers from before. Not the bullet screen jokers and laughing shadows. This was something different. Something older. Colder. The architects. The ones who had designed this world. Then lost control of it. I touched the back of my neck instinctively. There was no physical tag. No barcode or chip. But I felt it, like my ID was still pulsing beneath the surface, waiting to be overwritten again. Not this time. I was done being rewritten. At school. Su Yuxuan was already at his desk. He looked up and smiled. Morning, Lin. Wei. I stopped. For a long second I didn't respond. Then I walked over to his desk, dropped my bag, and sat beside him. I don't want to be called that anymore, I said. He paused. I know. I looked at him. Then why do you keep using it? Because you haven't said your name out loud since the override. He met my gaze, quiet but unyielding. You have to choose it again. Claim it. Speak it. I stared at him, heart THUDDING. And finally I said it. My name is Lin Nyan. As soon as the words left my lips, the air shimmered, like the world itself took a breath. Name conflict detected. System role Linwei has been revoked, reverting to legacy instance identity. Lin Nyan. My screen flickered, but only for a second. Then everything settled. Like the system had accepted my rebellion. Like it had given up trying to force me into a role I never chose. Su Yuxuan smiled. Welcome back. Later that day, I found a note in my locker. Typed. Precise. Unfamiliar. You've chosen a corrupted identity. You will be reviewed. Stay where you are. Do not speak. Do not resist. The observer is coming. My hands trembled. Another threat. Another system enforcer. They wouldn't let me live like this forever, but I was done hiding. I folded the note and slipped it into my pocket. Then I walked straight to Su Yixuan. Another. One's coming, I told him. His eyes darkened. They won't stop until you're erased. Then we stop them first. I showed him the note. He read it once, twice, then looked at me. We don't have much time. What do we do? He didn't hesitate. We find the observer first. I frowned. You know where it is? No, but I know how to draw it out. How? He reached into his bag and pulled out a thin black key card, one I hadn't seen before. This is a root access card. It lets you enter the administrator layer, the deepest part of the system. I blinked. You've had this all along? I've been saving it for when you were ready. And now I am? You chose your name, he said simply. That's all the proof I need. My fingers curled around the KEYCARD. It was cold, heavy, like it carried more than just clearance, like it carried the weight of the entire story. I'm not going back, I said. I wouldn't let you. He looked at me, his voice low and sure. If they want to delete you, they'll have to delete me too. And just like that, I understood this wasn't about surviving anymore. It was about becoming that night. I didn't sleep. Instead, I followed Su Yixuan to the abandoned East Wing, the part of the school where forgotten data leaked, where the walls pulsed faintly with code instead of paint, and the floor creaked like it remembered lives from previous. Loops. We stopped at an unmarked door. This is it, he said. Once we go in, we won't be students anymore. What will we be? Variables, I smiled. Good, I'm tired of being a constant. He slid the keycard into the hidden panel. Access granted. Administrator layer. Online. The door creaked. Open. Inside. A room bathed in white. Ceilingless, floorless, only screens floating. Shifting. Alive. And standing in the middle, a woman in a black coat. Her face flickered like a low-resolution image shifting between identities. Voices. Accents. She wasn't human. Not anymore. Maybe never had been. She turned slowly. Lin Nyan, she said. Her voice was layered, as if 100 people were speaking at once. You shouldn't be here. I stepped forward. But I am. You're not compatible. Then update your definition of what's allowed. The observer tilted her head. You chose the wrong name. No, I said. I chose the only one that was ever mine. Final warning. Legacy identity must be purged to maintain system integrity. Do you accept rollback? Why? I looked at Su Yixuan. He nodded once. Then I turned back to the observer. I didn't hesitate. No. Chapter 10. Home. Officially the moment I said no. The world shook. Not with violence, but with something deeper. A cracking. An unraveling. As if the story that bound this simulation had finally reached its breaking point. The observer didn't blink. She simply tilted her head, her voice like thunder behind glass. Then this instance will collapse. So be it, I answered. The words came easy now, because I wasn't afraid, because I wasn't running, because I had already accepted the truth. I wasn't a background character, I wasn't a bug, I wasn't Lin Wei. I was Lin Nyan, and I had chosen to exist. The administrator layer began to distort. Data panels cracked like glass, each one showing memories, my memories, me writing letters, me hiding under the desk, me forgetting, remembering, falling in love over and over again, and finally me standing here, facing the code that created me, not as a victim, but as an author. The observer raised her hand. Final override authorization in progress. But Su Yixuan stepped forward. No, he said firmly. She's part of the instance now, not a flaw, not a ghost. He pulled something from his coat, a fragment of a letter, embedded with legacy code. I give her my player ID binding. The observer paused. Warning, player relinquishing primary identity tag, risk of erasure imminent. Don't, I breathed. If you give that up, I'm done being the one in control, he said, eyes locked on mine. You fought harder for this world than I ever did. He turned to the observer. She's the real anchor now. Transfer accepted. New anchor Lin Nyan. Instance recalibrating. Stability? 72% gives 94% gives 100%. The light surged around me, not the artificial white of the system, but something warmer, like sunrise. Like home. The observer's form began to flicker. You've created a paradox, she said. An NPC with player authority. An instance with no default reset. That's the point, I said softly. The observer stared for a long moment, then smiled, double quotes interesting. And vanished, everything went quiet, the administrator layer dissolved around us, melting back into the familiar warmth of the school hallway. Not the looping one, not the fake, glitching one. A new one, real, permanent, home, the next week passed, like a dream, but not the kind that fades when you wake, the kind that lasts. I was still Lin and IA, and no one called me Lin Wei again. Not the teachers. Not the system. Not even the world itself. My name stayed. So did Su Yixuan. His seat beside me was no longer just a set piece. He smiled like someone who had nothing to hide. He laughed with his whole chest now, and sometimes when he looked at me, for too long I saw something behind his eyes that told me he would have broken the entire system all over again. Just to keep me, the principal made a surprise announcement one morning. We have a transfer student joining us today. I raised an eyebrow, nudged Su Yixuan. New variable? He grinned. Might be. The classroom door slid open. A girl with a bright red ribbon stepped inside. Her eyes flicked toward me for just a moment. And I saw it, that same spark. Recognition. She might not know who she was yet, but I would be here for her when she did, because I knew what it meant to wake up in a world that tried to forget you. I knew what it meant to reclaim your name, your story, your seat by the window. And finally, your home. End.